with layer 321 outlines selected right here, what I want to do is I want to add a new layer, and it's a new solids layer. So remember that whenever you add a new layer, it adds it on top of the one you've already selected, which is exactly what I want right now. So I'm going to go to Layer, New, and Solid, and my dialog box will pop up here. Now, like I said, we're just going to use the alpha transparency of this layer. It doesn't matter what color it is, it's eventually just going to disappear. Whenever I'm doing masks, I'll just like to use some layer that's like some crazy offside color, like a crazy green or something like that. It just lets me know that this isn't part of the design, it's just a mask. But it's up to you guys what you want to do. So I don't want this to be the entire size of my screen, right? I don't want the mask to be the entire size of my screen, or else I'm going to show everything at all times, which kind of defeats the purpose of what I'm doing. I'm going to change this to, say, 500 by about 300 pixels. And I'm just going to click OK. So I get this big green box that shows up on my composition panel. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to, with my move tool, my black arrow, I'm just going to click and drag it down right so that the top edge is right, let me zoom in here a little bit, just along that white line. Okay, so this is the area where my 321 is actually going to show up. If it's outside of this area, you're not going to see it. So what I need to do now is I actually need to tell the words, the layer that the words are on, it actually shapes, that I want to use this solid layer as my mask, basically. So go ahead and click on your 321 outlines layer. And for this, I'm going to actually use the track matte. The track matte is right here. If you don't see it, does anybody not see the track matte right here in their layers panel? If you don't see it, this little button right down here, expand or collapse the transfer controls panel, that'll open up your track matte. It's this category right here. Okay. So I want to change the track matte from none. And you can see once I click on that downward arrow there, I get this dialog box to show up. It's showing me the solid layers above it. So I want to actually use Alpha Matte Green Solid 1. So you can see what happens there is that it actually, the green box disappears because I'm actually using it as a mask now, or as an alpha transparency. So whenever the 321 is inside of the area that this green solid 1 solids layer was, you can see, it's hard to see on the projector, but you can see the little red corners framing in where that is. Once the text goes outside of that, you won't be able to see it anymore. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to animate the text so that it is above the line, and then it drops down below the line, in which case you'll see it appear because it's actually going to be in the area where that green solid layer was. So to do this, I want this to be where it finishes up, right? I'm actually going to move my current time indicator to about frame 15 or 16 or whatever, 15, okay? Because this is where I want it to finish, so this is where I'm going to add my keyframe. I'm just going to fly open the little arrow caret, open my transform attributes, and on the position attribute, I'm just going to hit my stopwatch. Okay. So pushing my stopwatch adds that keyframe right to frame 15 for that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag my current time indicator over to the left, back to frame 0. And I'm not actually going to move it with the mouse or the arrow tool. I'm actually just going to drag and scrub the second value here. This is the y-axis. I'm going to scrub it to the left here. You can see that as that goes above, it's not the white line that's doing anything, it's the alpha transparency that's doing it. So I'm going to drag that right to there so you can't even see it. So all this animation is doing is the first position is now here, and then as it goes to frame 15, it drops down below the line. and then we can see it.
When I drag mine, it goes like to the left.
Oh, so just make sure you're on the second. There's two values here, Kalen. The first one is your x-axis, and the second one is your y-axis.
Oh.
Okay, so that was easy enough. So we're just going to actually duplicate that. Well, not with Command D, but we're going to do that again for the other text. I'm just going to close those layers to give myself some more real estate in my layers panel. And I'm going to click on the graph outlines layer, because remember, whenever I add a new solids layer, it's going to go right above the one that I'm already selected on. So with the graph outlines layer selected, again, go up under layer, new, solids, or hit Command Y, that's your keyboard shortcut. And all this information is fine. It's the same as before, which is okay. So I'm going to click OK. Now the position of this isn't exactly where I want, so I'm going to do the opposite. I'm actually going to, with my arrow tool, just move this down so that it just kind of overlaps that white a little tiny bit right there.
My 3, 2, 1 is not showing in front of this layer.
It's not showing up.
It's not showing up in front of the green layer like yours is showing. Mine's like behind it.
Oh, so just make sure that your track mat is set to alpha on the 3, 2, 1 outlines layer. Yeah.
Okay. Oh. No. No.
Yeah, Kaylin.
Mine is set to alpha on the
Okay.
outline layer, but it's not showing up in front of it.
Did you created your solids layer?
I think so.
Okay, so do you have the little icons right here on your solids layer and your shape layer that's showing you that this is the mask for this layer? You should have, here, let me zoom in. You should have this little mask icon showing you that this is the mask for this layer.
If you can't see your 3, 2, 1, you might be on the wrong frame as well.
Oh, yeah.
That's what was wrong with Olivia.
If you can't see it, you might still be on frame 0, but if you go to frame 15,
Yeah, that was all I had to do.
Yeah.
So. Oh, you have to go over here.
There you go.
Yeah, see? Put it on 15.
okay, so now that I've got a solids layer above the graph outlines, I'm just going to click on that graph outlines layer so that I can adjust its track mat as well. So if I just click on the little drop down menu under the track mat for that layer, I'm going to change this to alpha matte green solid 2. So there, so you can't see it, right? That's okay. I want to actually animate this. So I'm going to open up my attributes for that layer. Oh, geez, sorry. I moved my track mat to the wrong side of the line for this. It needs to be above. Sorry, guys. So just go back and click on your green solids 2, and you can actually, with your arrow tool, just drag it above the line. And before we go any further, just make sure to reselect your graph outlines layer so that we can adjust its position. Now, this is, again, where I want it to finish up. So on my position attribute, I'm just going to hit my stopwatch to add a keyframe. Okay, and then I'm just going to move my current time indicator back to 0. And on that second value, which is the y-axis, I'm just going to scrub it to the left, or sorry, to the right, so that it drops below that line, so I can only see the outlines. Okay, so if you scrub your timeline or your current time indicator now, you get this happening. You could even try just hitting the space bar to see what happens there. It's all right. It's quite linear and robotic. It's not very human-like. Things don't really move like that. So let's play around with some with our graph editor and some eases and things like that. Go ahead and open both the shape layers that have the text, so that the graph outlines and the 321 outlines, so that you can see all of your keyframes.
Sorry, what?
Just go ahead and just open up your layers so that you can see your attributes, because I want you to be able to see all of your keyframes here. We're just going to add an ease to this really quick, just to make it feel a little bit more real and less linear. So if you can see all your keyframes, I'm just literally going to, with my arrow tool, just click and drag a box over top of them, like a lasso, to select all of them. Okay. I'm going to hold Control, or right click, so I get this dialog box to show up. And under the Frame Assistant, which is your last drop-down menu, yep.
My thing won't, the 321 doesn't disappear. So,
What frame are you on, Kaylin?
I'm clicking on like that outline.
Yeah, but what frame?
Frame 15.
15?
It doesn't disappear at like, it doesn't reappear at either 0 or 15.
Okay, I'll come over after. Under the keyframe assist, I just want you to go to ease in, or sorry, easy ease. Yeah, every time I say that, I think of NWA. Yeah. So that's a little bit better. If you go ahead and test it now, it's a little bit better. It's slow in and slow out. Fastest in the middle.
What did you click on?
If you just click and lasso all those keyframes, and then just right click on them. If you don't have right click, you just hold Control, and then click on one of them, so you get this pop-up menu. And then the bottom option there is the keyframe assist, which will open up another menu, and you just want to do easy ease, or you can hit F9. So that just kind of slows it in and slows it out, so it's a little bit more realistic. One other thing I want to do, I just like playing with the graph editor. It's fun. With those 4 keyframes selected, go ahead and open up your graph editor. So we've got this really big kind of, you can see it's easing in and then easing out to slowly come to a stop. I'm just going to click here. Let me zoom in. I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to click and lasso all those anchor points. And I'll get my Bezier curves to show up here, which are these little yellow anchors. I'm just going to grab this one here. I'm just going to drag it a little bit to the left, so I get this. It speeds in, and then it slows down longer than it speeds in. So that looks a little something that looks like that. That's a little bit better. I think that's more human-like. Anybody have any questions? That's it. That's all I wanted to show you right now. So you could animate anything to go in and out of these. You could actually even animate the solids layers if you wanted to, if you needed to move them around your page. It's really easy. Just change your position. Okay?